What is climate change's true impact on polar sovereignty? Imagine a world where the icy borders that define nations are slowly melting away. That's what climate change is doing to the polar regions. It's changing the very landscape that countries relying on for their sovereignty. The Arctic is warming about 3 times faster than the rest of the planet. This rapid warming causes sea ice to shrink, glaciers to retreat, and permafrost to thaw. These changes make it harder to clearly define where one country's territory ends and another begins. In the Arctic, many countries have claims based on the land and ice that surround them. When glaciers melt and sea levels rise, some land masses can shrink or even disappear. This affects the boundaries that nations have used for years to establish their rights to resources and territory. For example, melting ice can open new shipping routes and access to natural resources like oil and gas. Countries are now competing more fiercely for these new opportunities, which can lead to political tensions. Legal frameworks that define sovereignty, like the principles of the Montevideo Convention, assume that land boundaries stay the same over time. But climate change is making those boundaries uncertain. As coastlines erode and land is lost, countries might find their claims challenged or even invalidated. This creates a tricky situation where traditional borders are no longer reliable. It can lead to disputes over maritime zones and resource rights, especially in areas where the ice is melting fastest. Indigenous communities living in the polar regions are also affected. Their traditional ways of life depend on stable land and ice. As the environment changes, they face threats like flooding, loss of hunting grounds, and damage to their homes. Their rights and knowledge are no more important than ever in discussions about governance and resource management. Infrastructure in these regions is also vulnerable. Thawing permafrost can cause buildings, roads, and energy systems to become unstable. This makes it harder for countries to maintain their presence and carry out research or economic activities. Governments need to develop new strategies that account for these environmental shifts. All these changes mean that the idea of fixed, clear-cut borders in the polar regions is becoming less valid. Countries must rethink how they define sovereignty and work together to manage these fragile environments. Climate change is not just an environmental issue. It's reshaping the political and legal landscape of the polar world. It's pushing nations to find new ways to cooperate, protect indigenous rights, and ensure sustainable use of these vital regions.